Let's do it.
Britain, aka Posh Pete, I smuggled over £5 million worth of cocaine internationally. This is how crime.
And he's not in jail anymore. That's crazy, bro. I'm not wishing on a downfall for these niggas. I'm just saying, like, bro, you smuggle cocaine. Like, you gotta be in there for a while. Unless the system is broke.
I've been in prison with people there, capos from the Sinaloa cartel, bosses from the Colombian cartels, and even when they were in their heyday making millions, the amount of fear and paranoia that they had to contend with, people trying to kill them, people trying to take their business from them, and in the end, what did they end up with? They ended up going to prison for a long time and losing all of it pretty much. I am extremely lucky to be alive. In my opinion, the risk is not worth the reward. Cocaine is farmed and produced in Peru, Bolivia, and Colombia. The farms will generally be in rural locations out in the countryside,
Bolivia.
where they will grow the coca bushes. They will crop the coca leaves.
Yo, these niggas, like, niggas in Bolivia could really just walk outside and just pick cocaine up off the street and be like, damn, I got a cocaine plate next to my house. So, like,
which is the laboratory.
Niggas really could look in a backyard in Bolivia and have cocaine right there. Like, that's crazy.
Leaves. The cocaine, once it's been processed in the lab, will be transported to probably down to the coast normally, or to the ports, or also the capital, should we say, for sale. The farmers themselves are paid quite poorly. They have to farm an acre of bushes for 1 kilo of cocaine. Once the cocaine is processed, I know in Peru you can buy it for as little as, should we say, $700 up to $1,200 for a kilo. The chemicals that we needed to buy in order to process the cocaine were quite difficult to get.
The market for fucking cocaine is like easy to have, so it's not easy to have, but like it's easy to buy. So like you could go to one dude, he sells it for more than the other niggas, so you're gonna get it from the other niggas. So now niggas got to start dropping their prices, and then they start fighting over
ethanol, which is a pure alcohol,
hydrochloric
acid, sulfuric acid.
I feel like that's how it be working. I'm not even gonna lie.
Acetone. We had to basically make a fake company, fake profile, have a number.
Niggas really put me in my element when I was watching
Dark to these big chemical companies.
I walked out that bit like I was a Sinaloa drug.
Anyone from the public, you had to be from a business.
I walked out that bitch like, I'm gonna start moving these drugs, but I didn't.
Is one that's very highly controlled. Acetone as well in South America. Ether is the big one because the ether wash it used to be the best type of wash to make cocaine. Sourcing tanker loads of ether to produce the cocaine is virtually impossible there now, so they're having to use other chemicals which aren't quite as good. And that's one reason cocaine, if anyone out there has been doing cocaine for a long time, they will now be able to tell that the cocaine these days is not the same as cocaine 20 years ago. Because I've been around cocaine so much, I can, without even taking it, I can just rub it between my fingers, look at the colour, smell it, and I can tell you pretty much which country it's from.
Now smell it, then nigga be sniffing it.
That have been used in it.
You saying smell it, like nah, nigga. You be smelling that shit.
My most successful method
using your nostrils
was a form of impregnation of cocaine into rubber. Through a Colombian connection, we would someone in Cali would buy the cocaine. They would then give it to a basic chemist over there. So the cocaine would be put into liquid and then into liquid latex, which would then be set in sheets, very thin sheets. We would then put those latex sheets into the ground sheets of tents. So we would employ... Nah, this nigga giving away the whole...
like, you know how them scammers on Snapchat be like, I'm the method, give you the method for like $10, $20. This nigga giving the method away for free. He's telling y'all how to move coke. Like, y'all gotta listen. If y'all wanna do this, I'm not saying I'm gonna do it, but if y'all wanna do it, y'all can do it.
Kind of set some ground rules when it came.
I wanna see y'all. I wanna see y'all court videos. if y'all do this, I want to see y'all niggas court videos. I'll react to that
Treating
bitch.
passengers.
Like,
I
damn,
would
this
try
nigga
and
got
find
20 to
people that
life.
have obviously no criminal
Crazy.
record
Shouldn't have done that
or
shit. I told you, but you
fairly
shouldn't have done that shit,
creative,
man.
reasonably well presented, and just people that were fairly sensible, preferably someone that was working already, and then we would pay them between £10,000 and £12,000 on their return to Britain once the drugs had been extracted, or sometimes if there was enough cash available, we paid them as soon as they came off the plane and handed the tent over. First tent that we brought in, I flew to Quito in Ecuador. The tent had already been manufactured and the cocaine impregnated into it. I managed to get through unscathed, got back to Britain, landed at Stansted, fully expecting to be stopped by the police there. So yeah, I arrived and just collected the tent and walked straight through, and that was it. I was, to be honest, I was in shock that nothing happened. There was nearly 5 kilos of cocaine in that. And having gone through that experience...
So Britain don't really be like on that shit like we do, you know what I'm saying? Like Florida do. I'm not saying U.S. because U.S. don't be on shit. Florida need to be its own country, nigga. Now you see down here in Florida, bro, we be enforcing them rules. Yeah.
Realised that this method
This is
that
Florida,
we were using
man.
of impregnating the cocaine
Fuck New York, fuck
was definitely a good
fuck
method
Georgia,
because I'd just been stopped by
fuck
customs.
Utah, fuck LA,
and
nigga. This
got
is
through
Florida.
3 customs checks, one in
Fuck
Ecuador,
America.
one
This is Florida, nigga.
in Holland, and one in Britain.
United
Come
States
through
of
with a
Florida.
fine. During the time that we were trafficking, we never actually lost a single shipment. The great thing about that method was that it wasn't detectable by X-ray. You can't detect it by scanner. The dogs couldn't detect it because obviously the cocaine is being changed into rubber. And we used to counteract the reactive test, the liquid test that they do, by putting in another chemical. That pretty much nullifies all the checks that they can do on you. There are definitely countries that we avoided going through or trafficking in. A lot of the South Americans that I've spoken to try to avoid trafficking in America. The DEA have got powers to...
Yeah, nigga. Most definitely. Most definitely. Because we care more about drugs than we care. The war on drugs, this shit, like, I'm not saying that's not a thing we should be caring about. I'm saying the way America is, like, we would care more about what's going on in these other countries with drugs than how many people are sleeping on the fucking street, like, type shit.
Come down to Colombia or Ecuador or wherever, basically, and arrest you and then take you back to the States and try you there. Places like Thailand, Indonesia, where they have the death sentence, always big no-nos, Saudi Arabia, anywhere that's got the death sentence for drugs. Also countries with really harsh laws, high sentences.
I'm probably just tired. I don't know. I'm trying to get all J. Cole on y'all niggas. Like, it's 2 in the morning.
Of smuggling cocaine, obviously the cartels use containers, shipping containers, to bring in the larger shipments of cocaine, i.e. Tons at a time. This is normally done using corrupt port officials at both ends who facilitate the movement of the cocaine. I didn't like the idea personally because I'd realised, having seen other people do it, and when it went wrong, the police officer or the customs agent involved would always roll over and inform on all of the other people involved. Recently, I've seen newer methods of smuggling cocaine across borders.
So that cop was like, fuck it. I'ma just snitch on these niggas because I feel like it. So you basically snitching on yourself. Really, because you knowing everybody that was involved into the situation makes you look bad. So, like, I don't know. It's just snitching. Like, I don't know, bro.
Russian friend
I don't
when
like
I was in
that
Ecuador,
shit.
when I was in prison in Ecuador, who was captured with 42 tons of cocaine, which was in barrels of molasses. It had been liquidized and mixed into the molasses. There is just a multitude of things that can be impregnated into. Once we managed to get the tents back through customs and into Britain safely, we would then have to extract the cocaine using chemical processes. Any cut that was in there wouldn't come through in the process, so we were only left with the pure cocaine. Once it was completely dry, we would cut it using phenacetine, which is what people call magic. We would normally cut it about 60% cocaine, 40% phenacetine, and then repackage it and sell it. An earlier associate with whom...
But if you're like infusing it into like rubbish, how do you get it out? That's what's confusing. You infusing it into molasses, all this type of shit, and you gonna have niggas sniffing molasses. Like, what?
Traffic drugs within...
I mean, whatever makes they boat
float, bro. He put me in contact with the Colombian in London, who was already importing cocaine into Britain via a contact of his in Cali, Colombia, who was operating with the Cali cartel. That became our source of cocaine in South America. All of the cocaine we pay for up front using various different money transfer agencies like Western Union, MoneyGram. We would always try and keep the transfers under £1,000 at a time. We would use various people to...
Damn, he is low-key giving the police free sauce, bro.
To facilitate the transfers, because obviously we could... Really, you can't use one person more than 2 or 3 times in a month. We had some underground money transfer agencies that were a bit corrupt, should we say, that was allow us to send more than was registered. I did some workings out on the train, on the train journey down here today to London. So from every $100 or £100 worth of cocaine that you buy, I would estimate that about 2%, 1.5% to 2% goes to the farmer who's growing the coca leaf. Probably 35 to 40% goes to the cartel. But the cartels are really, they're controlling the lab and then the shipping out of South America. The remainder was, say, around 60%, would probably go to the dealers, on the street, much the same as OPEC controls the supply of oil.
So then how much goes to the smugglers and the niggas who like... That's crazy that 2% go to the farmer, because if the farmer didn't want to do it and he just gave up on y'all niggas, y'all would be out of a produce. Like, come on, bro.
The cartels control
give the niggas some money,
the flow of cocaine. The problem with drug trafficking is you're only going to be able to do it for so long before you get caught. In the operation that I was carrying out, we tried to keep the number of people involved to as small as possible, because obviously the less people know, the less chance there is that somebody's going to turn informant or betray you. The group that we had, that was me, a Colombian and a Chilean, who were the key players, and then we would employ passengers to bring the tents back in. Well, after the Colombian and the Chilean were arrested in a laboratory that was raided in Crystal Palace, the Colombian was turned by the British police and became an informant. We then started to see police activity around us quite frequently, so it became very much a game of cat and mouse between them and us. I was arrested in Ecuador in 2005 and ended up getting sentenced to 12 years in prison in Ecuador.
Nah, that nigga went through it.
I was
He went through it.
With complex PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, after having seen so much mayhem and death and destruction in prison in Ecuador.
I'm giving y'all the niggas an ASMR, bro. I'm rubbing my eyebrow against the mic.
I would say that the levels of cocaine being produced are greater than ever these days. Even though there's ever greater demand for cocaine, the purity of cocaine has also increased, I think, because of the increased production levels. We're now in the internet era, encrypted technologies, encrypted telephones, encrypted messaging services, and dozens of them. Nowadays, there's so many ways, better ways of transferring money around the world, such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, these are definitely being used in the drugs trade for facilitating large movements of cash. So it's a lot harder for the authorities to keep on top of all of this. In order to keep up with it, the cartels have realised that
niggas
you're
really
always
don't
gonna be able
be
to sell
onto that Bitcoin shit. Like,
pure cocaine quicker than
that's
you
how
are
most of
crack
these
cocaine.
niggas want to make their money
The
nowadays.
sort of
They want to
mafias
start
like
sending
the
that shit through
Albanians and the
Bitcoin.
Russians and the Chinese, they are now sending their own people out to South America to just buy the cocaine from the cartels there and then basically say goodbye to them and then facilitate their own shipping back. So then that means they then have the whole share of the profit. The Albanian mafia is now very much in control of the whole trafficking enterprise in Britain and Europe, and I think it's become very much more controlled and very much more monopolised than it used to be. There used to be smaller people like myself. Those smaller players have been forced out of the market by the fact that the Albanians and the like of the Albanians have just got it stitched up. In my opinion, the government can't win the war on drugs, and they're fully aware that they can't win the war on drugs. And if you talk to a lot of high-ranking police, they will definitely tell you that the war on drugs is unwinnable. And
That shit is, but that shit's never gonna end because you're gonna knock out one drug and then another drug's gonna show up and it's just gonna be a forever ending cycle. Like you knock down one person, another nigga's gonna rise up. He's gonna take, and you can't scare these niggas, bro. Cause the way they, grew up, they probably been like more scary situations, so they're accustomed to that. They know what they're getting themselves into, and they don't care. So,
personally,
it's not really
the
finna win
only
that.
way that the war on
Government
drugs
down
will
again.
be won.
They were already down with them unemployment shits. Now they're down
legalise
again.
all drugs, manufacture them under license and strict
The
control.
government just be taking L's left and right, bro.
Tax them heavily in order to offset the detrimental cost to society. Really, the key element in this is the financial gain of criminals. If you can take out the financial gain from the whole equation, then there's no incentive for criminals to traffic drugs. So I don't think that throwing more and more money at border force and trying to control it and say eradication of crops. I mean, they've tried eradicating crops and that only had a detrimental effect on the people on the ground because it destroyed other crops as well and led to disease and illness and contaminated water. It's huge business, it being kept illegal, because it actually creates more employment and more monetary gain overall for law enforcement, for prisons, for the judiciary, for healthcare, for these drug companies making drugs.
Yeah, they be getting checks off of them busts. Like, them niggas be getting a bag.
That help with treatments. I got into selling drugs at an early age. I always had a sort of an entrepreneurial streak, but drugs was at that time quite easy to do, and a lot of people seemed to be doing it. There were illegal raves every weekend, and loads of the people that I was at school with started going to these parties. So, instantly there was a huge marketplace until I was arrested at 17 when I was at college, which put a stop to everything. I saw how upset my family were, and I was worried about not getting into university and jeopardising my future. Trying to survive on a student loan, I realised that, they don't go very far. That's when I first came into contact with cocaine. Started selling cocaine to a couple of students. Before I knew it, I was then selling cocaine to the locals in Cardiff, and then I was selling to their dealers, and then I was selling to their dealers in turn. And before I know it, I was supplying half of South Wales, and then ended up, fanning out and spreading out into the Bristol party scene and supplying loads of people there. The first time that I went to prison...
How did he get to the cartel, though?
In England, I did make contacts in prison. But yeah, I suppose you do make contacts in prison. I mean, they are the finishing school of crime. Anywhere you go into prison, anywhere on the planet, you will end up making contacts because that's the nature of the places that they are. I'm now going into schools, colleges and universities trying to educate people on the harm that cocaine and drugs in general do. It'll only end up with you being captured or killed, and the effect that that will have on your family and friends is devastating. Since getting released from prison, I wrote a book called El Infierno, which is published by Ebury Penguin. It's all about my time in prison in Ecuador.
Nigga,
I'm currently writing the
I fuck
prequel
with
to
you,
that
bro, but
first
I'm not
book,
finna read your book. I'm sorry. I
and I'm
don't got
hoping
the
to get
patience to do
the
that.
two of them made into a screenplay.
Get your free
Or
promo,
just
though.
to make a Netflix series or possibly a film. I have set up my own company with a view to making my own chocolate products, chocolate cakes and
Lowkey.
bars, importing cacao from Ecuador, not cocaine.